Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Tech Recruitment podcast. I have a special guest here. When I say here, I mean on Zoom, because he is in Thailand, in Bangkok. Hi, Kasper.
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
Kasper Diem is the founder of Kandio. He has entrepreneurial background. We know each other from Thailand because I used to live in Bangkok, and back then he started and even sold a few companies, also in other markets. And now he's focused on tech. He's focused on technical assessments. He has started this company to help companies and also recruiters to assess candidates. I'm talking about software developers, mostly, right? We will dive deeper with Kasper to who exactly goes through those technical assessments and how does it work, how to find qualified developers, how to assess them, and even where to find them. So this will be an exciting discussion. I cannot wait to get to some of the questions we have on the list. Before we dive deeper, Kasper, would you tell us why did you actually start Candio? What was the trigger?
I started Candio first for around 3.5 years ago. I was a client with one of our competitors hiring a tech team for a project for the company I had at that time. I burned myself a little bit on some candidates that I hired. It's not easy to hire for tech. And one thing is, of course, skill. Another thing is personality, cultural fit. There's a lot of things that a lot of ends that needs to meet to make that particular candidate and person work in your organization. So, like, I saw the competitors and see that you can get a lot of either opaque testing techniques or bad testing questions, bad coding challenges. You never really know who made them, what was the process of getting these tests or coding challenges to market, and how do you ensure that the material you're using to make some of the most important decisions in your company, who you will hire, how do you ensure that this material will actually give you the outcome of a stronger tech team in the end. So that was the challenge that I set out to do, and which eventually became Candio as we know today. So we looked a little bit to a model that I really like the model that we have, because we look a little bit to the FAANG companies in the US and Silicon Valley, and most developers they're talking about FAANG interviews here and there. How do you nail the FAANG interviews? How can we do FAANG interviews in our company? How can I score better? How can I get these attractive six-figure jobs? And on the other hand, we have clients that is struggling with tech recruitment because all the FAANG companies, they have taken all the good talent to conduct the interview internally. So that is kind of the process that we try to democratize and give to our clients, that use Candio and you can get FAANG style interviews in your own organization without having that 0.1% of tech talent to help you in-house.
That's really cool. That's really cool because I remember when I was the CTO, as I mentioned, back in Bangkok, we also created some coding challenges, projects that took a few hours, and some of them even 6 or 8 hours to complete. And as you said, you never know who created it, but even harder is the evaluation of the result, right? So someone can be biased. So from what I understand, you developed this tool that can, without any bias, assess the candidate, right?
Yeah. So it's actually not really true when I say when you say there is no bias, because there actually is a little bit of bias. But what we do is that we cherry pick like really the fraction of a percent of talent to create content on our platform, and then take that content and make it available to our clients. And each time we have a client that let's say $100 on Candio, we give 20% directly to the contributors that make make the content for Candio on an ongoing basis, on an ongoing monthly basis. And this ensures that we can have, because it's a great way for our contributors to monetize their knowledge and create a small permanent revenue stream for themselves that they would not have had otherwise. And it really motivates them to come up with great content that is maintained over time, even in niche tech areas, creating assessments that you could not really find elsewhere on the internet. And also ensuring that if some of the content either gets outdated, gets leaked, or for whatever reason have some sort of feedback from our clients, then our contributors have a very clear way of very clear motivation to make sure that these assessments are the best they can be, which I know for sure that they are definitely not on many competing services. Or just if you go to Google and search for open assessments that is floating around on the internet, you can find thousands and tens of thousands of questions that is just floating around.
Oh, wow, that's so true. That's so true. It's so difficult to, especially for recruiters who are working on different positions, from backend Python, backend Java developers, front-end engineers, data engineers, and so on. It's really hard to evaluate across all these different skills. So that's certainly one of the challenges in the tech recruitment process. What are some of the other challenges that you've seen when recruiters or hiring managers are trying to assess candidates, and how would you suggest they can overcome them?
So I see some of the biggest challenges, and like always see, for me, we always, even though we are tech, we live of selling tech assessments, but we still only, as I think everyone should, regard assessments and skill assessments as a small part of the final decision. And some people, they evaluate tech assessment right up front before talking to the candidate, where others, they will evaluate it at the very end when they have just a few candidates left. But I think the biggest challenge is for like really the understanding of that you cannot get any good candidates if you have a job that nobody wants. If your job is not sexy, then nobody will take your assessment. And you always have to keep in mind that candidates, they won't come and work for you. They have plenty of options, and I think you know this well enough. There is a shortage of, there has been a shortage for the last 10 years of tech of tech candidates almost in any language. So like when you ask about what the challenges are, it's definitely attracting people to take that job offer, and just don't go short on the package, because you will spend that money elsewhere, either on a high churn in your organization, or simply not be able to attract the right talent. So what we do actually internally is that when we find a candidate that is suitable for the job that we have, then we ask them what price they would want. We ask them how much they're looking to make, and then we take their own salary and we multiply that with 20% on top. And I know that this doesn't work for everyone, and some people, they have different budgets. Some people have different ways, that like different backgrounds and with what they are hiring for. But we definitely go hard on the package. We try to make a very attractive package to get some good talent and make sure that we are more sexy than the neighbor, because otherwise they will just leave within 6 months.
That's interesting. It's very interesting that you say it. I mean, that's exactly what we've seen also on the market here in Europe, where there is a talent shortage, and we need to go the extra mile to get candidates excited. And this is actually really challenging, especially when we work with some hiring managers who, for example, don't want to hop on a call with a candidate before they see the technical assessment. But as you said, candidates are not willing to complete the assessment before they, meet someone from the team, which is especially challenging when you work as a third-party recruiter, right? As an agency. So what would be your take on this? How can we mitigate this and get candidates excited a little more?
And it's always a chicken and egg problem, and we try first of all to be in touch with our clients and to understand what kind of real world challenges are you guys sitting with out there, and how can we make assessments better. Like now we knew each other, we have known each other for a couple of years now, and like I really appreciate all the feedback you yourself have given to Candio, which in fact has resulted in new functionality
Cool. Awesome.
to make sure that the product is better for the markets that you are in. But there is always a chicken and egg problem in terms of how heavy of an assessment can we give up front, and how much can we expect of the candidate from without feeding him a little bit. And my personal opinion is that you should always be willing to be in personal touch with a particular candidate, even though it's and again, this is just my personal opinion, but if you are doing the outreach to a candidate and trying to tap his back as a potential candidate for a job that you have in mind, then dedicate 5 to 10 minutes to warm him up for the assessments that will come. I think you will have a hard time just spraying out assessments and hoping for like maybe you get 20% of the candidates who actually take the assessments, and maybe 5% will have an acceptable score that you can pass on to your client. But you will never know the remaining 80% that just did not give a shit about that particular thing that you have to say, or that job that you were hiring for. You will never know what kind of skill sets they were sitting with, and chances are that the right candidate is more likely to be in that pool. So that, like, we are trying to make solutions that can help our clients personalize a little bit, help them warm up, give we actually have you recommended us this feature with shortening our assessments, which is actually coming to like we are launching that shortly, and I hope you will try it out.
I'll do the first one.
to let me know what you think, because it's definitely valuable that we can give candidates shorter assessments, or that we can help. And when I say help recruiters, I mean help both recruiters and the candidates. So whenever we create a new feature, we always try to also have the candidate in mind. So to know that the end goal is to get a better team. The end goal is not to screen more candidates. So we always try to develop things with the end goal in mind, and not the quick win.
That's very cool. It's also awesome to see how the product itself keeps evolving, because as you mentioned, we use it to screen candidates, and just an idea again popped in my mind when you say we need to also somehow pre-frame candidates. It would be cool, for example, on the page where they land to start the test, to have some video, from the recruiter who would just say like, hey, here is the technical assessment. It will only take you 15 minutes. And, I would record something if there would be some option to place the video on the page, just to make sure that people don't just fall through cracks. So it's just, I had this idea, so take it or leave it. Some product feature.
But I think it's a great example of what could be further personalization, because we personalize in email marketing, we personalize in landing pages, or at least we try to, and we personalize in many in written letters, in resumes and all other things. Why can we not personalize in technical assessments? So I think that's definitely a good. It's actually not something we have looked a lot at, that particular landing page. So yeah, we can for sure look a little bit about, can we include either video or candidates' first names or a little greeting or something like that. If that could ensure that more candidates are finishing the test and getting stronger teams as a result of that, then for sure that's something we would love to do.
Cool. And what if
I'm just taking a note here.
Good. And while you are typing notes, I'll ask, what if a recruiter, someone who works, for example, as a freelance, a standalone recruiter, like these are the people who also join our training, people who watch my YouTube channel, and they may wonder, wow, that looks really awesome, but I don't have the 90 or 150 or so euros to pay every month for the Kandio subscription. Do you have any say cheaper plan for recruiters who are just starting, or are there any other alternatives that you would recommend to recruiters who are not there just yet?
Yeah, for sure. That there are definitely lots of options, I know we are like me and we are structuring something that can make it like exclusively for your visitors and your clients and your viewers on this channel, can help people get going a little bit easier with with Candio. What that will be exactly, I'm not fully sure yet, but I'm sure it will be quite good. But if you're looking to get started with assessments, honestly, my first recommendation would not be to jump onto a platform. Yes, we can give you a free trial on the product. We can also give you a good offer to get going for the first period of time, like we discussed. But I think it would be good to familiarize yourself with the concepts of assessments, to have a better understanding of what that is like, both from the candidate's point of view and also from your organization's point of view. And we have many clients that before they came to Candio, they were authoring, like we have from all ends of the spectrum. Some have been authoring assessment content in-house with either with their own tech team that they then use either during the interview or as home assignments, which is quick. Like, it's a good way to get started, because you get a sense check both on what is it that you actually need. You apply the work once and then you can repeat it, and also on top of that, it is tailored to your specific use case, which sometimes the assessments that we have, they are more general, which means that it's not, if you have a very niche tech product or a very niche tech team, then we mostly assess general purpose languages, and within these languages, the more general concepts. So sometimes it can be good to assess candidates more niche knowledge that applies to your use case. We also had some clients that simply went on Google and searched for assessment questions online, and then used those questions to give them to candidates, either on-premise or off-premise, in a concealed environment without internet. Like, give me your phone and go to this room and solve this assessment. Like we have some clients that did that in the past. We also have some clients that does that with Candio assessments. Take candidates to like as an examination, like you did in high school. Sit on this computer that does not have any internet. Give me your phone and you will solve this now. We see what happens. One piece of advice that I think most people does not think about when it comes to getting started on assessments is uh, actually like buying most books that you can get on programming languages. They will usually have a chapter on if you buy, for example, like some of the biggest Python books, then some of the last chapters will usually be around. Now you learned all this. Test your knowledge within that you just acquired through this book, and these chapters are actually often what both our contributors and instructors they use as inspiration to come up with assessment questions and assessment content. So if you're just getting started, then and you know that you are hiring within JavaScript, you're hiring within Python, then go on Amazon, buy the book with the most reviews, and see the last chapters and see what they use in their books to as a self-assessment for that particular book, and you can use that in your recruitment flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's some good ways to get started, and of course there are many other platforms that does what Candio is doing, both in terms of coding challenges, multiple choice quizzes, one-to-one assessment as a service. That you also have some enterprise level solutions that does that, and so it's really what you can get what you want in that spectrum, but it's always better to have a little bit understanding of different concepts of assessment as well as bias, as you mentioned before, going into it.
You are right. Like there is everything on Google, right? But it also takes time, and even if it's sort of free, but still it takes time, and time is money. So probably recruiters would be still better off if they started using Kandio, because they could save time and rather engage with candidates. So is there any special discount we could offer to people who are watching this video, people who are subscribed for the Tech Recruitment podcast or channel on YouTube? Is there anything special we could offer with regards to your Candio subscription?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, as we discussed, like we can, we would be more than happy to do a 3-month onboarding period at a 50% discount, and we will send out a link with like a special link with a landing page where we can claim this is exact offer, and it will be closed shortly after this. Shortly after we do this interview, so. It's not something that we that we usually do, but we would be happy to make this offer to your audience to see how exactly they can get going with Candio, and if this can be because we do want to help smaller clients and smaller solutions, smaller recruiters, and ease them into a better way of thinking about assessment, and ultimately get better teams for their clients.
Yeah, indeed, it saves lots of time also on the recruiter side, because you don't have to go out there, buy books, start reading, and it's still possible, for example, for someone who is technical. But imagine now a recruiter who just transitioned from non-tech recruitment, reads these questions and can send these questions to a candidate, but how does he or she evaluate the responses, right? So
that's quite difficult.
That's quite difficult at the end of the day. Cool. So thanks a lot for the special offer. So I'll paste the link below this video. And you are also sitting on a lot of data from the past 3 years or so. All these people who completed all the Python, Java, JavaScript tests. So the people who completed, like you as the owner of the company, who are the best developers. Where are they from? So quite a lot about the people, right? So what would you do if you were a recruiter or a hiring manager? How would you use this to your advantage? What would be your take on, or some advice for our audience?
So I just want to emphasize that what you said right there sounds like a data privacy manager's worst nightmare. And we are fully compliant with GDPR, and we have functionality in Candio that helps our clients comply with the GDPR policies. And we we store all the score data that we get from candidates, but we have strict policies around what we store in terms of personal information and personal identifiable information to candidates. And this is also one of the benefits that our clients gets from using Candio, that whenever somebody takes a JavaScript test, then they can see exactly where that candidate falls compared to all other candidates in the world that took the same test. So you can see if he was subpar or above par, of what you would expect for someone with these qualifications. And you can either make your hiring decision based on that, you can make his salary bracket based on that, or you could benchmark other candidates for the same position based on that. So, but the data that we usually that we find very interesting is of course, where do we find the good developers? And we have people writing us every week. Every week they write us, Kandio, Kasper, like, how do you have any good candidates that we can have? We have some clients with this job, but our answer is always the same, that the candidates that comes to Candio does not belong to us. They belong to the clients that have the clients' accounts, and we will of course never pass along any candidate information to anyone. However, what I can say is that we have quite clear patterns in terms of geographical locations where I think you can really get some great candidates for tech teams. And in Europe, if it was me hiring teams in Europe in specific at the moment, I would probably look into countries like Romania or Poland, somewhere in Eastern Europe. And Romania is, for me, really a market that is not completely harvested yet for good talent. But what we see from our data is that the scores are actually remarkably high on the candidates that come through from that country, which historically maybe has been lagging a little bit behind. So I think that's definitely interesting for some recruiters that could potentially front run other people, also because the language barrier has been quite steep, but people are starting to catch up on English in Romania and Poland as well. If it was Asia that I was hiring for me, I would look for Vietnam or Philippines, which again, the biggest reason, of course, being skills. We see Vietnam and Philippines testing quite high compared to other countries like India, Cambodia, Laos, and even Thailand. As you probably know, the language barrier is still quite high in Thailand. So hiring someone that can speak English in Thailand can still be a challenge. But what we see in Vietnam and Philippines is also that they're really good at English, and they're really good at coding. So I definitely think we will see more from these countries in the coming years than what we have done in the past. And on the trend side of actually the tech stack, we follow, I think our tests follow the trends on, for example, Stack Overflow quite smoothly. If you go to Stack Overflow trends chart right now, you will see that React and Python is trending a lot. You also see a lot of DevOps. You also see a lot of, for example, Vue.js, and that is reflecting in Candio. People are hiring for these tools that is searching worldwide as the programming language is trending in that direction.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and you just answered my next question. So what kind of trends do you see when it comes to some of these programming languages or frameworks or IT roles. And yeah. So you just mentioned front-end developers, React, Angular, Node.js, backend JavaScript, Python developers. Cool. Yeah.
But we are definitely also seeing more clients request request things like more around system architecture, database DevOps, and like for me it's great because we like last year we recruited one of the patent holders of SQL to deliver SQL assessments to Candio,
Wow.
and he has been launching, I think, 5 or 6 assessments on Candio now, and he's really like one of the best in the world in that particular area. So that's of course super thrilling to have a guy like that delivering assessments within that niche. But I see also that one of the things I would recommend to people either being in assessment or starting out on technical assessments, look into a solution that does a little bit more than just assessing candidates' hard skills. Because we definitely do this in Candio, and I know other of our competitors are starting to touch on this a little bit. But there are so many data points that you can that we as a platform can harvest from candidates and provide value to our clients when they are conducting the assessments. And that is things such as, and even small things as which browser version are you using, or what system are you, if you have a candidate that comes through that uses Windows XP, maybe you will think twice about him. and the same goes for we track a lot of the candidate's behavior. One of the interesting things that we're doing is that we because we are dealing with technical individuals, many of the candidates, they try to inspect the code and see if they can find the right answers to the assessments in the code and in the inspection manager on Google Chrome. But what we actually do, if we detect that they are opening, if they are inspecting the code, then we feed them with wrong answers inside the code.
Oh, really?
We have hidden wrong answers that appear as right answers inside the code on all the assessments.
Oh, wow.
And what this does is that it sounds like you didn't even know about this feature, but it's quite powerful, and I haven't come across anyone else that does it like that. And what it's doing is that it gives our clients the opportunity to either judge the candidate as being very smart or have taken the bait. So honestly, we have clients that see it as a good sign that the candidate was trying to inspect the code, and we also have clients that take it as a bad sign that he was trying to work around the test and cheat.
Well, I didn't know about this feature, and it's a great one, really. So well, that's you go really an extra mile, and that's the sweet spot when someone is focusing on some niche, like you focus on tech assessment, so you really are nailing it on this front. And the other alternative is some recruiter just trying to figure it out himself or herself, right, by reading some books, which they can do it probably to some extent, but it sounds like much better idea to sort of outsource this to someone who focuses on it, like yourself.
And I know you're on a tight schedule, so just as a last wrap up, it's been great to talk to you and share my knowledge around this topic, and I know please pass my contact information along to anyone who has any follow-up questions. We love to educate people around assessments, with or without promoting our own solution. I think it's really first step to to moving the space in that direction and forming better tech teams. So if you're sitting out there and you have any questions, either about Candio, about tech assessment in general, please feel free to write me directly. I answer all emails, and we would happily get to know you.
Wonderful. So I'll include the website and also your LinkedIn profile below the video, so people can follow up with you, and also the link to get the special offer that you mentioned with 50% off for the first 3 months. So that's a great one, and people should take advantage of it so they don't have to reinvent the wheel, because you've been focusing on it for 3 years, right? So
we have invented it.
Yeah.
Don't spend your next 3 years on reinventing this wheel. We have already done it for you.
So true, so true. All right, thanks a lot for joining for this discussion. It was a great one, and thanks a lot for sharing these insights from the tech assessment market, some of the trends, and also your tips and advice. So that's really
Thank
priceless.
You for having me. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. Yeah. Take care, guys. Have a nice day.
Bye. Goodbye.